Hello everyone, Katarina here. Welcome to another color swatching video. This time I have for you something new, a watercolor palette from Rosa Gallery. A set of 12 professional quality watercolor paints. As I've been painting for a while, I thought it's time slowly to upgrade from student paints. And when I heard about this company and that they are from Ukraine, also the prices are great, I wanted to give them a try. I actually got them for my birthday last year, but I haven't used them because I wanted to film this video and finally I found the time to do so. I asked for the set with 12 paints simply because I already started collecting professional paints from another brand. The 12 paints, in my opinion, is a good basic set. It comes in this metal tin. The paints come in full pans, which are individually wrapped. On the wrapping you have the color name, light fastness and pigment information. However, once you unwrap them, there is no information on the white pan itself, so I would recommend writing at least the color number on the pan. Or actually, since the wrapping is an actual sticker, the sides you can tear off and adhere them on the sides of the pan. I actually saw somebody doing this. I still prefer to write it with a Sharpie, but this is an option. The stickers took me quite a while to remove. I will not make you watch me unwrapping each pan, so let's skip it and make the swatch. And later I will also do a test painting. I activated the paints with a little bit of water. The watercolor cardstock I'm using for the swatch is 100% cotton from Artway. The set comes with cool and warm shades of the primary colors. Starting with the yellows, the first one is Cadmium Lemon, and the second one is Cadmium Yellow Light. Both very nice yellows. I usually don't like cool yellows, but here I really like it. The first red is Cadmium Red Light. To me, just like with the Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolors, it looks more on the orange side. Actually, if I did not know this is red, I would think it's orange. But I absolutely love the second red, which is Madder Red, not sure how you pronounce it. This is a really beautiful deep red. Then there are also two greens. The first one is simply called Green, and I think it's a very beautiful earthy green color, definitely one of my favorites. And the second one is Emerald Green. To me, it's very similar to Viridian. Last year I would have hated this color, but I changed my mind. You can mix with it very nice shades of green. Next we come to the blues. The first one is Cobalt Blue and the second one is Ultramarine Blue. I think these are quite typical blues in many sets. The last colors are more earthy colors. The first one is Yellow Ochre. I think this one is quite typical in many sets as well. Then there is Amber and Sepia. The Sepia I really like. And the last color is Natural Black. I was warming up to Payne's Gray in my Winsor & Newton Cotman set. I think many watercolor artists, if not most, prefer Payne's Gray over Natural Black, but I do really like that I have a proper black paint in my set. So this is the swatch. I'm not an artist, but I'm quite impressed. Beautiful vibrant colors, smooth buttery application. The selection in this palette is great. In my opinion, this is a really good basic palette, especially for beginners on a budget. However, so I'm not praising everything. If I were to curate my own palette, I would probably swap the Amber, the Emerald Green and the first red. I probably would swap it for Burnt Sienna, Sap Green and some nice Christmas red. But you can always add colors later. Actually, let me know in the comments what colors would you swap and let me know which colors you would add. Before I talk more about these paints, let's put them to the test. I thought because I haven't been painting for a while, I will do coloring instead of loose watercolor painting. And I have this coloring book and I picked the first image of these beautiful roses. But I quickly realized that this is not going to happen. For coloring, especially with watercolors, I prefer when the image does not have too many little tiny parts, in this case the petals, and the middle of the rose had way too many of them. Plus it was printed in gray. It was just too fiddly, eventually I could not see the lines, and I lost my patience. So for the plan number 2, I decided to print out this flower. I think the flower is called Carnation. It also has a few smaller parts, but not as many, and I had the original image with black lines as a reference, which was really helpful. I used the dark red for the petals and the dark green for the leaves. They are my favorite colors in this set. I'm gonna speed up the video because it took me quite a while to color, and while you watch me struggle, as I said, I haven't been painting for a while. I had problems with the shading and making each petal to be visible or visibly separated from each other so they don't create a big blob. I always struggle with this. I also mixed the wrong colors. I had trouble smoothing out the paints, which is another thing I struggle with. But I actually painted another flower and there it was much better. So this is more like a user problem, not the paint problem. And I was also painting during a heat wave. I'm guessing this might be an issue as well. And when we get to the painting of the stem and the leaves, there I actually messed up. So as I said, while you watch me struggling with the painting, although I'm not sure if it is really obvious that I'm struggling, let's talk about a little bit more about the paints. Overall, and these are just my first impressions, I might make another video in the future. As I said, this palette is great for any level, but especially for beginners on a budget, as these paints are really affordable compared to other brands. This is an Ukrainian brand. I believe they are also made in Ukraine, so at least if you live in Europe, they should be more budget friendly. I live in Sweden, and one full pan of Rosa Gallery is slightly cheaper than Winsor & Newton Cotman half pan. I think this is pretty good, since Rosa Gallery are professional paints and Winsor & Newton Cotman are student paints. And the price of sets like mine is also great. They actually have different types of sets in different sizes, and I have the smaller one. They also sell tubes, and I don't think I've ever seen half pans, only full pans. So if you are looking into getting good quality professional paints, but the budget is the issue, this might be a brand for you. I heard that the Rosa Gallery doesn't have any granulating paints, but I looked it up and they do have them. So maybe just the sets have no granulating paints, or actually this might be something new. You can buy them separately or as a set. For me, smooth watercolors is something I like, so this is perfect. I also like that there is no white in this set. I'm not saying that white is useless. I will definitely buy white in the future, as some colors cannot be achieved without white. But for a small basic set, I think white is not essential. Overall, I have nothing to complain about the Rosa Gallery paints, except I need to practice more. Also, keep in mind, I'm not really picky when it comes to paints. And this is basically all I have to say about these watercolors, at least at the moment. Maybe in the future I will make another video. But now, let's talk about the coloring. I finished the petals and I do like the result, especially since I didn't paint for a few months. I also forgot to mention, I got this image with multiple other flower outlines from Etsy. If the shop still exists, I will leave the link to it in the description below. But let's talk about the coloring of the leaves. That was a different kind of struggle. I don't know why, but you will see in a bit my big mess. It was actually going quite well, although I was a bit confused about the part under the flower. When I googled the image of this flower, it looked nothing like that. But that was not the problem. The problem was that at some places I went outside of the line, which is not a big deal. The first one on the leaf on the right, I was able to cover. But this second one on the main stem, That did not go well. I was trying to lift it, but lazy me, I didn't go to get a clean paper towel. I used my dirty cloth and it messed up everything. I'm not sure even that the dirty part was problem, it was the texture of the cloth. So what I tried doing on the other side, on the leaf on the right side, I used clean water and touched the paint so it kinda seeps out and kind of looks messy on purpose. I did this before, but this time it did not help. And actually when you look at it when it's dry, I did not need to do this because I actually painted a leaf where I messed up the stem and you cannot really see it. In the end, I decided to add splatter to help the messiness to look more intentional and a little bit cover it up. Did it help? Not really. I still do like it, but it did not go the way how I wanted. However, I think I already mentioned it, I did redo it and here it is. I used different cardstock just because. I didn't print the image directly onto the cardstock, I transferred it and I only transferred the flower. The stem and the leaves I painted freehand, which was much better. I didn't add splatter because the plan was to cut it out and create a card with it. My mom has birthday very soon, so this is perfect. I hope you enjoyed this video despite of my lousy test painting. I guess the struggle was a punishment for not practicing enough, so I would really appreciate if you gave this video a like. If you have any questions, just ask in the comments and let me know which additional colors you would add. Thank you all so much for watching and I will see you in my next video.